Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Make him the cutest that I've ever seen. Give him two lips like roses and clover, and tell him that his lonesome nights are over. Sandman, I'm so alone, don't have nobody to call my own. Please turn on your magic beam. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream.
Good evening and welcome to Nox Mente. Tonight's guest is Lee Veltman, longtime live chatter and first-time guest. Lee, welcome to the show.
Welcome, Lee.
Thank you all for having me.
You're welcome.
Well, this is a treat for sure.
Yeah.
Everywhere I go in live chats, Lee, you were there.
Yeah, and I've been wanting to talk to you for a while. I think I saw you in, God, whose chat was that? It was weird. Like Jeranism. It was like a flat earth chat.
I get into some weird ones every once in a while.
I think it was Infinite Plane Society when IPS was around.
No, it might have been Black or one of those other ones too. Because they kind of dabble on that edge, but they don't commit. So, yeah. It could have been any of those. Because I was really jumping into that rabbit hole for a little while because I couldn't believe that cult and how rude and aggressive they really are.
I don't think a lot of them are real. I think a lot of them are chatbots.
Well, I mean, there are the real ones, the Mark Sargent,
Yeah.
and all them. So, like I said, I don't like promoting them at all. So, yeah, but the only way to address their followers is to call them and say they are deceiving you.
Anyway,
we'll
talk about that later. Yeah.
Yes. So let's talk dreams and all this, Lee. Paint us a picture of the world you grew up in. Tell us about what inspired you, what things stuck, and you may include dreams, of course.
Well, that's like I said, that's really great for me because I did have a good childhood. I was born to 3 older sisters. 2 of them had a different father, and kind of just, it was Tulsa, Oklahoma, upper middle class. Went to a Benedictine Montessori elementary school for 6 years before I went to an Augustinian Catholic junior high.
Oh, wow.
Before I got shipped off for bad grades and rambunctious behavior to a military school in Lexington, Missouri.
Oh my God.
Came back to Tulsa, went to Bishop Kelly, an Episcopal school, 6 months. Yeah, I didn't like that very well, didn't fit in. Of course, military school did teach me how to drink and smoke, so that might have fit in with that one. So I finally talked my parents into letting me going to the public school, Edison High School. Got really hung out with the cool kids older than me. Got into partying. Got into a fraternity called Barons, and a couple of bad experiences. My parents found some stuff in my room they didn't like. I got shipped off to a school in Connecticut called Oxford Academy. It was a one-on-one school. So I did really great there. In 3 months, I did like a whole year of school.
Where in Connecticut?
It was in Westbrook, Connecticut, on the Long Island Sound.
I used to live in Darien.
Okay.
And
yeah.
Norwalk was the other one.
Okay, very cool. Like this, the Hartford, Connecticut, and all that stuff with that stuff there is stuff that I've kept up with because I think it's kind of another one of the wackadoo stories out there.
Connecticut is a hotbed of fuckery.
That's a great way to put it. Yes, I agree 100% over.
It really is.
Like I said, I went to school. I'm very blessed. My father was an insurance agent, had his own company, and my mother's dad, my grandfather, invented the valve to store natural gas underground in McPherson, Kansas, and started a company up there in the Salt Plains, pulling out brine and selling that off, and then storing natural gas in these salt caverns.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. He started at McPherson College, the only auto restoration college in the world.
I love people that invent, that it's an artist thing. where you're constantly thinking in those terms.
Oh, I totally agree. I think with my life, because I kind of was very nervous, I guess, and afraid to kind of get out of the box, because I had such controlling situations I went through. That people who do lose that creative, abundance that should be allowed in their lives and get stifled and get broken is something we overcome on a daily basis.
Oh yeah.
So,
so in all these moves that you had, which are quite a lot, and it sounds like you definitely have that rebel gene. I mean, you were constant. It sounds like maybe you were a questioner or something. If you went from a Catholic Episcopal school to military
well, that
school.
wasn't my choice. That was
Really?
never by choice. Yeah, that was just, I guess my parents. My mom was Presbyterian, my dad was Episcopal, but they wanted the best schools for me, and these were the best schools.
Okay.
I mean, the last school I ended up spending 2 years up in Northern California. If I tell people how much that school costs for 2 years, they kind of have a hissy, because that's 8 years of college for most people.
Yeah, private.
But like I said, it was my parents fell for that scared straight tough love malarkey. And
Did
an
you
education.
get religion in your early childhood?
Well, I was baptized Episcopal.
But yeah,
And
I heard
always,
that. Were you like, was it an active thing every week?
I mean, like I said, that's just theology, I guess, is just a part of who I am, I guess, at this point. A lot of people get into the occult and theosophy these days, and that new age mumbo jumbo that I can't stand.
Yeah.
That's why I'm very blessed, because I did go through what I thought was a new age cult, but it wasn't a new age cult. It was just a thing called Synanon. And that's another
that sounds so familiar.
Let's get into that in our after show, though, Jerry. Make a note of that.
Yeah.
So, what do you consider yourself now as far as like spirituality?
Oh, I'm Episcopal. I
Okay.
can drink and get divorces. It's kind of a little joke. Like I said, I don't.
And wear rubbers too, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's one of the things is through all of my trials and tribulations in life, I am so blessed that I always got to depend on my faith. I didn't and was never afraid to confront anybody about, hey, explain Allahu Akbar to me. What does this mean? What does this mean? Because I thought I had a really good understanding of religion up until about 5 years ago, when I read an article by this lady that said my high school and Synanon and AA had some connections with this teen challenge, scared straight stuff. And so that was kind of my, all right, y'all, here we go. Let's jump off into this rabbit hole of pseudoscience mumbo jumbo, basically. I mean, it's literally pseudoscience is the best way to kind of explain it, because of the structured environment behavior modification that they did use.
Like a mind control program, really.
Yeah.
There were links, I think, with the MK Ultra stuff a little bit. Like I said, it's really odd to kind of even say that now for me, because I don't believe in that stuff. But since that is such a trigger word for a lot of people, that I just want to be like, no, there were people that in the 50s and prior that studied behavior modification, electric shock therapy, using neurolinguistic programming,
hypnosis.
Yeah, hypnosis and LSD with Timothy Leary at Echelon Village. Yeah, I went that far down that rabbit hole, and I love it. Like I said, it's kind of a weird world to live in, because I can spot a BS artist a mile away at this point.
Yeah, and that serves. I think everyone should try to understand these techniques, to see them being used in the world around us by people every day. It's amazing how many people are administering these techniques in workplaces and in organizations. So
yeah. The school that mine came from was a school called Pseudo, and a guy that did go to that school was named Mark Hughes. Mark Hughes started a company with some other guys from that school that you might know of called Herbalife.
Oh, wow. Yes, of course. Okay, wait. This
But
is
yeah,
after
it's a
show
small
stuff.
world sometimes.
This is post-horror stuff. So what sign are you?
Virgo.
Okay,
Very,
cool.
very Virgo, moon sign more than sun sign. I was born August 31st. So the afternoon that I was sitting there contemplating life and its mysteries, and I was like, Virgo, I don't really get this. Let me read about this stuff. And then I was sitting there going, that is 9 months from New Year's Eve. I think I know the last time my parents had whoopee.
Oh. Right. Well, that's always a good indication of knowing when there's some scrum going on.
I think I'm like 1 month, not even to, like, I think it's 3 weeks after my before my parents' anniversary.
Ah,
It was a
very cool.
celebration.
They were like right on top of it, and they're like, "Oh, we used the rhythm method." Yeah, sure you did. That works great. That works fantastic.
Things have come so far from that era. I
I
mean,
know.
today with this modern tech and how everybody is so techie, and that's like I said, that's where I was really having a lot of issues with my own personal kind of growth about 5 years ago to about 3 years ago when it just started clicking for me. You know, I felt like I was completely lost and that I wasn't able to express things very well. And then I was like going, okay, what can I change about my behaviors? What are my character defects? I mean, I'd already gone through the AA route for, the whole inventory stuff, that whole, and I was just like, there was always something missing for me with my background. And then to hear these people talking about things, I mean, I um, couldn't process some of it. The whole people that are out on the interwebs selling these fake supplements, promoting just like I said, is I'm sitting there going, I'm trying to buy your spiel, your little elevator pitch. But when you do your news agency a minute later and you're sitting there doing, there's Sabian shapeshifters with slaves on Mars. No, you lost me there. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do the, my favorite one is the black goose sentient oil. Oh my goodness! When these people try to tell me about this stuff that is underneath Australia, and I'm like going,
Argentina and the Falklands.
Yeah. Well, I'm like, what's petroleum with iron magnetized in it? Okay, besides that, what is it? And none of them are like, they're all stumped at that point.
They're allegedly nanobots.
Yeah, I know. Like I said this, but that's when I'm like going, okay, there's an actual real issue with Morgellons and chemtrail spraying. So I leave myself a little bit open-minded, even for the woo-woo.
Well, that's kind of woo-woo, though, in a way.
I know.
Okay.
I know, but like I said, I get into arguments with people that believe the Anthony Patch guy with the stuff sometimes.
He's out of his mind.
You are sounding very Virgo, Lee. Very Virgo.
I will shut up now.
Okay, let's get back to Nox Mente. So because we're going to get into all that, we're going to go balls deep in the after show with Lee. It's going to be epic. So what have you done psychedelics? And if you have, which I think, I can't remember if we talked about this, could you give us an example of what you've done?
Yes, I have no problem with that. Me and Hondo, my buddy that was a DJ at the radio station here in Tulsa, were young, went to some dude's house. 4-way window pane was my first paper experience.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, like this, a friend of mine went to a Dead show, brought back some orange, some blotter, that stuff there.
Orange sunshine.
Orange sunshine, there you go. So besides that, like I said, about 5 or 6 times, but like I said, after that, I got shipped off to a school, and that's where I kind of read about that. If you do it more than 7 times, you're insane.
Oh.
So that's when I switched to mushrooms.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm from Oklahoma. So there's every once in a while, there's, hey, you want a trash bag of these funguses here? And mushrooms actually were probably my biggest mistake in life. Not because I don't like them. I think they're very good and very, if monitored and done, blah, blah, blah. They are very good for you. My problem was getting caught in Texas with them.
So it wasn't the experience of doing them, it was getting caught.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, getting pulled over with an ounce of weed and a mushroom that was 4.1 grams cost me 3 years of my life and over $30,000.
Oh my
easily.
God. Oh, that's terrible.
So, yeah.
Never carry more than an ounce, huh?
Well, actually, I could have had underneath 2 ounces was a misdemeanor. The weed was a misdemeanor.
Oh.
4.1 grams of mushrooms. One mushroom cap.
Yeah, right.
Was like I said, it was about the same as having heroin or crack.
I think it's even worse.
Like I said, they're changing the laws now, so like I said, you can't even keep up with it. And since, like I said, I got in trouble, did a Safe P unit, which is a prison rehab, got out, had to go through a halfway house at the Salvation Army in Dallas, bartended on the border in the West End, waited tables at PF Chang's, violated my probation pretty quickly, ran for a few years, moved to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where I started working for McDonald's and doing my own tile work with a buddy of mine named Richard. And yeah, that was I was in the whole, let's do the AA route, and did that for 10 years. Got involved with Icky Paw, Archie Paw, some really cool conferences, was a speaker for them. And that's when my other issues in life, have you ever heard of achalasia?
It sounds familiar. I'm not sure though.
It's a stomach disorder that I had that my esophagus, the valve between my esophagus and stomach clamped shut when I lived in Aspen, Colorado after college. And yeah, because I was thinking I was going to catch cancer and other stuff because of stuff some doctor had said about Behringer's esophageal cancer and acid reflux disease. But he was kind of wrong. But that was, like I said, is I went and did my own research, and I heard about cannabis oil and what these guys in Colorado Springs were doing. And it got to be a very small world for me because of that crazy boarding school in California I went to. They were the guys in Colorado doing some of this stuff, or friends with those people.
Green Dragon, and it will heal you.
Is this like the Rick Simpson's oil kind of stuff?
Yeah, promotions to Rick Simpson. I love him. He's an amazing man. He had to move to Canada to cure his own cancer off of a patent that he pulled off of the internet from 1937.
Yeah.
Owned by the Rothschilds.
Out there.
Yeah, well, his method with the that stuff is I actually had a pleasure about 5 years ago talking to him. So he cleared up some confusion that I had. So I'm very much aware of the pesticide issue right now going on with the medication for these children and stuff. And I'm very pro regulation of the medical marijuana industry. I'm not. Some of the stuff that happened in California with AUMA, and I was always the CCHI Cannabis Hemp Initiative that Jack Hare. I was always with that group. And
I don't see any problem with regulation. In fact, I do think it's needed. It's who's regulating, but this is all a sidetrack. So in the hallucinogenic agenda, I know I keep it focused. That's why. So on the psychedelics again, did you have any really life-altering experiences when you were trying them?
Like I said, there was a summer of my life when I was spoiled, I guess is the best way to put it. A friend of mine was hooking me up with hydro, shrooms, and I was slinging nothing. I was not doing anything against the law. I was being a good little boy. You know what I mean, though?
Yes.
So I would go out to the pool. Like I said, my father had his thing. One of the smartest things my dad did in his life was get a membership at a country club in Tulsa called Southern Hills. If you have seen the movie Black Mass with Johnny Depp, where they murder Roger Wheeler at that country club, Whitey Bugler murdered that Roger Wheeler at the country club. I happened to be there the day it happened.
Oh, wow.
So,
Synchronicity.
but yeah, it's like I said, I was actually really young at that point. I was only like 8, 9, or 10 or something like that. But yeah, back, like I said, I guess it had to have been after I got out of the boarding school, right before I went up to Aspen. I think it was that summer. Yeah, because I would just go out to the pool, hook up my buddies with this and that, and then go on my bike for 4 hours every evening from like 2 before I'd go out at night. And, and I was around noon, I'd eat about 2 grams and then go do that. And I really think that allowed me to think. And that's one of the things that getting into some of the other stuff that a lot of people want to believe in, that astral projecting stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I want them to explain it to me in a way that doesn't explain dreaming almost sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, that's what I'm wondering. There are people that can focus and meditate and get to that point where they are imagining astral projecting maybe. I can buy that, but have I ever done it? No. And yeah, like I said, there was a lot of times when I was growing up as a kid when I would have those nightmares, at my grandmother's house, Christmas time, and all that stuff, and the boogeyman and all that stuff. So like I said, I was a firm believer in paranormal stuff at a young age. It was the UFOlogy malarkey that I really started having issues with when I met Groovy Bean. And I mean, like I said, I've been making jokes about the lizard people of Ike for years. So to hear about these new blue freaking, oh my God, that stupid Corey go to David Wilcox crap. I don't want to strangle anybody that loves Gaia, period. Sorry, nope, no Gaia PB lovers around me, please. And I think people need to, I think there's a few people that will hear this at another time that will or should make amends with Groovy Bean. She's got a great channel. Go check it out, everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, that's one of the weirdest experiences of my life was actually when I was sober.
So, and was it, well, tell us about it, actually. If you don't mind sharing, we can.
No, I don't. Like I said, I'm putting myself in the right frame of mind for this because it is not easy for me to speak about because, like I said, I ran from the cops when I got really bad off bartending in Dallas. A buddy of mine was an easy cocaine person. So I was, because I kind of got bad off on that for a little while. But then I moved to Baton Rouge, got sober.
Was that the 80s?
Oh, God, no. This was 2000.
It's so funny when I hear cocaine, I think of like the high 80s when everything was so extravagant.
Yeah, no. Like I said, is that whole, my buddy, oh, God, there's some, we'll get into that stuff later on with the Mena, Arkansas stuff, I'm sure. Arkansas. Anyways, where was I? Oh, yeah. So I was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, living with my mother. We had made amends. I hadn't spoken to my family for quite a while at this point because when I went to jail alone, got out, and they kind of turned their back on me. So I was really pissed off. But she allowed me to come and get my shit together a little bit. I started doing the AA stuff, and I was going to turn myself in to the police in Dallas. And right before I did that, I went up to Arkansas to Petit Jean Mountain outside of Little Rock. It was my first RQ-PAW convention, Arkansas Young People in AA. And there's a Episcopal church up there, campground area that where the convention's held. And then down the road from there is the Petit Jean State Park where we camp out. And one morning, like I said, as I was getting ready to go, I mean, I knew when I came back to Baton Rouge, the next 3 days later, I was flying to Dallas to go walk into the Dallas Police Department and turn myself in for breaking 10 years probation. And so I got up one morning to kind of, I was in the big book, went down there with that, I had a sponsor, and I hated that stuff. But I couldn't sleep, so I got up this morning and went down this thing, and I was sitting there, and just some really cool shit happened. Kind of just thought of my grandmother, who had always kind of really taught me ethics and morals in my life. And then the sun rose, and all of a sudden, about 1,000 lightning bugs all around me just start lighting up and flying up because they were sleeping. Like I said, I guess I'd lay down in a bed or right next to a bed of ladybugs.
Wow.
And so yeah, that was kind of,
Wow.
it was one of those moments when I just knew everything was going to be okay.
Yes. That's a powerful image. I mean, that could be, that could be a symbolist painting, lying down in all that, a massive amount
Oh,
of
like I said, it was right next to this old building, right next to a lake where the steam was coming off. The sun was just coming over the mountains. It was gorgeous. And yeah, it was a very moving moment for me that really kind of gave me, like I said, that was when I was really testing my fate.
Yes.
And like I said, that's most people it would steer away from religion. It actually got me more into it. Like I said, I started, studying Christian Science and more of the, alternative, occulted things. And that's where, like I said, most people, it should have made them lives a lot easier. But with my family being what it was, it made it a lot more difficult. My dad's Episcopal, my sister's Roman Catholic, and my other sister's strange.
Mm-hmm.
And my other sister, the middle one, was bipolar. And she actually went through that electric shock therapy stuff, even though I was against it and tried to talk my family out of it because I had looked into that stuff a lot and thought my sister didn't need it, that she had better methods naturally. But when you have a whole bunch of people who are stuck in a prison of belief, thinking what they know is best when what they know is based off of pseudoscience, you get hated on. And that's kind of why my family kind of turned their back on me, because my mom got sick right after my sister died. And yeah, that was life. And you get over these things and you move on. And like I said, that's
a personal journey in the end. And it's for me, I find like the further into life I get, the less I'm trying to project out onto the world. And it's hard because the things that you learn, your hard learned lessons and insights are intense. They're life altering, but you can't give that to anyone. They have to find those lessons themselves. How do you dream? What's your dream recall like after that? What is dreaming for you, Lee? The landscape of it, color, black and white, sound.
Like I said, when I was a kid, it was always bleaker. Like I said, there was color, but it was always natural grays, natural greens and stuff. And as I got older, I don't know if I just sleep a lot harder now and don't remember them as well because they're more vivid, I guess. Like I said, I wake up now and I know I had them. I know they're there. And I can but it's like, they're more out of this worldly kind of stuff to me. And it's like I said, I've always been a firm believer in interpreting your dreams as your subconscious talking to your conscious. And that's, like I said, that's why I've always been like I said, is if you see coyotes in your dream, that's for me a huge significant thing because of my Cherokee heritage. And
Yes.
the coyote as being like the Joker trickster god. And like I said, that's kind of why I started looking into the Hopi Kachinas and all that stuff that does go along with stuff.
You just reminded me of Patty Broussard for a second. Sorry. I'll tell you later.
Okay. Like I said, I like getting into this stuff because I've chosen to ask questions. This last 2 years of my life have been amazing. And being kind of, like I said, they always have 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. I'm like, well, there's 3 degrees of me from everything at this point in my life. I've looked into, when I heard about Nintendo having connections with the Yakuza and playing cards over in the Hong Kong stuff, I was like, this is a fascinating story. And so I've read about that stuff. And yeah, this world's amazing. I mean, that's one of the things that I kind of really am focused on, I guess, at this point in my life is you can make your real life a living dream. That's what I believe. And even though I'm the skeptical one that has, I'm gonna be like, okay, we have overpopulation issues with the limited resources on the planet we live on. We've cut down too many trees. We've bred too many cows. I'm not a vegan, but I do support that stuff. But I am from Oklahoma, so I love my steak as well. And I like to drive my big truck. So, we need to let these, and whatever these people are talking about with the 0 point energy, bring it, people. Come on. I am tired of waiting for what is supposed to be out there already.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And yeah, like I said, we've gotten into so many arguments this last year. And like I says, when I had someone tell me they were an alien hybrid from Sirius D in the Andromeda Galaxy, I almost lost it. Of course, they blocked me as soon as I started asking them about, which one of their parents was from Sirius.
That's because you're a shill.
I know. I'm a total troll shill bot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, don't get me started on that one wacky person that likes to. Grandma, make me a sandwich. So anyway.
Where's my meatloaf?
I'm sorry.
Lee, you are this interview conversation reminds me of the Ben with a chanter one. I'm like, yeah. Okay, wait, let's get back.
Oh yeah, CW is a character. Me and him got into it pretty hard the other night, actually.
Well, that's an after show, but it's still like you two. There's a similar quality in trying.
Oh yeah,
to
I totally love the brother. That's yeah. It's definitely very hard for me to stay on point and focus. When there's so many solutions to so many simple problems, but people are so set in their ways. And that's kind of like, I actually took a lot of notes, kind of preparing this. Actually, more respect to CW. I did listen to that one again today. And like I said, I really try to promote common sense and critical thinking.
Oh, they're both very important qualities.
Yeah, with all the people pushing false narratives and using logical fallacies, you can't even have a rational discussion with people anymore about rational things.
The times are definitely a little bit more. It's like the wild west of language these days in a weird way.
And everyone's on like a hair trigger too.
Everyone's on a hair trigger, and then I don't think people are actually agreeing on terminology and concepts and syntax. All of it seems like we're all speaking different languages.
It's like whichever side is talking has their own set of terminology.
Yes.
I haven't really been paying to the chat. Yeah, I mean, I started making these jokes about King Cheeto and the Shillery years ago. And then the Cheeto won. I don't like some of his policies. I really have issues with the Department of Education, DeVos, and that stuff. But in saying that, he's also the commander-in-chief, and why would you want that person to fail who's supposed to be in charge? And right now it's so heated with the tax cuts that just got passed, the trans-partnership trade agreements and pulling out of the French Peace Accord. That stuff is that will trigger these sensitive snowflakes who can't use logic and common sense. Like I said, it is geopolitics, all their stuff wrapped up together, but it's kind of, that is what it is.
I know. I mean, it does seem like everything's triggering. I'm just trying to get back to our dream show. Because we have an after show, and so far this has basically been touching on what we do for post Horus, except for we follow these thoughts out.
Correct. And that's why I'm saying, but that is my dream. Because I think at this point, if what we imagine is our reality, if what we speak into existence is truth, if once you get through the nitty gritty of the woo-woo Wookiee malarkey craziness,
yes,
that what you have left is the impossible dream.
Okay, so I'm with you here on that, and yeah, follow that through.
Do you know what the impossible dream is? Man of La Mancha?
I think I
Seek
do.
the impossible dream.
I do.
Yes.
I do. I do.
Yes, it's the way you were presenting it. I'm like, maybe I don't.
Well, like I said, it's about the guy who goes and chases the windmills that are
It's the Don
dragging.
Quixote story.
Yeah, Don
Yeah,
Quixote and all that.
yes.
So that was such an influence on my life. But that's always what I've kind of wanted to be.
That's good stuff. Yes.
Well, a really big influence on my life when I was locked up in Northern California at the Cascade School. We did treks. I think they were 18 or 28 days long wilderness thingies. And I had to read Jonathan Livingston's Seagull on my first one by Richard Bach. And that kind of got me hooked on him. I was always a huge reader growing up. So I read, Illusions, Jonathan Livingston's Seagull. And then on my second trek, because I was such a good Cascadian, I got to be support staff on the second trek. I was able to bring my own book, and I read The Bridge Across Forever, a love story. And that, kind of get a little emotional thinking about this stuff because, it's like you read these stories of these guys who overcome these, falling in love, losing their loves, them dealing with their inner dark side. I call it my I side because of the workshops I did. One of them was called the I and the me. And my me is my perfect little child, innocent creature that is all knowing and all loving and doesn't hate anybody. But the I is the asshole that is the person I wear on the outside, my mask that has the iron suit and the walls and all that crap. So like I said, that's the influences I had, and that's why I'm very focused right now in my life on wanting to help people overcome communication breakdowns. And like I said, and that's on center going, people have gotten so weird lately. And I know I'm an old head stuck in my old ways. But these young whippersnappers that want to come into these stupid chats and distract from them, start making just, look into Planet X, man. It's coming. And I'm like, oh my God, I've been doing this since 2012, making jokes about this crap.
These people insisting that all this stuff is absolutely true, without a doubt.
Right. Conviction is such a trap.
Yeah, and like I said, there was a point when I was sitting there, questioning my sanity is the best way to say it. But like I said, I don't think my sanity was ever at stake there. It was more like a question of faith for me. You learn about the son of perdition.
Yes.
And the eye of perdition, and like I said, and that was such a rabbit hole for me.
But that was a rabbit hole for me also, by the way.
Yeah, and like I said, and when people started talking about, triune deities versus Gnostic deism versus Zoroastrianism, and then I started butting heads with that stupid idiot, esoteric, Holly weird, wackadoo dude.
Jay Dyer?
Oh, yeah. And he wouldn't even debate me on Martin Luther versus Thomas Aquinas. Not knowing, because I was just kind of trolling and messing with the dude because I was trying to explain to him, hey, I went to these these elementary and high schools that I took all this theology. If you want to debate someone, debate me. And he started calling me a troll.
Man.
So I started kind of trolling him a little bit.
You totally triggered
that's
him.
An eye for an eye. What do you think this state is, Lee? This what we're calling reality. What is this?
Okay, let's jump into this one. We live in a 3-dimensional world, height, width, depth. That is everything. On top of that, you also have space and time. There are laws to the space-time continuum that they can't be broken.
Or proved.
Correct. So when people want to start talking about the Republic, I go to Plato. That's one of my things. You know, I'm a very logical person, especially when people started talking about the 7D chess that's going on these days. And that's more
That might be going on, though.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with that at all. You're right. It is going on.
But Plato's a good
absolutely
place to go as well. So
right. And that's all about, you know, Atlantis and the Republic and that story, which is about democracy. And our country was founded on those principles. And a lot of people at this present moment today have issues with our history. You know, like I said, and there's so many people who, this is one of the craziest things to me. Why do people freak out about Christmas trees? I don't get it. You know, like I said, and then they're like, oh, it's a Gnostic mass, it's the Yule log, it's the Saint Nick, and I'm like, and how long before you start bringing up Kronos and that crazy Saturn cube wackadoo stuff now?
Well, do you think? So, are you thinking? So, do you buy into the narratives that have been sold, like of our history?
I am a very firm believer in our history being whitewashed.
Okay.
I don't deny that. Like that's the best way to put it. I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma. A lot of people don't know the history of Tulsa, Indian Territory, oil, petroleum capital of the world for a while. There was also something that a lot of people do know about, which is called the Black Wall Street Massacre. And so I've always been a person who's very anti-bigotry.
Yeah.
But if I find a racist, I'll take them on in a heartbeat because I think people don't understand racism as a social construct.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And it couldn't be more surface level as far as perspective when that's literally, that's how you see the world.
Right. No, Darcy, this is not pre-recorded. Yeah, it's, like I said, I had a friend here in Tulsa who was of mixed heritage, who brought up a book to me. The Great Controversy. Have either of you ever heard about the Great Controversy?
Why don't you give us some highlight?
The Great Controversy is a book that is being promoted. I think there's a guy up in New York, like passing out 1 million copies of this thing. The author of The Great Controversy is Ellen White. You might know Ellen White because she started the Seventh-day Adventist, I do believe.
Oh, yeah, that's the world's always ending.
The 144,000 elders are coming back to save us.
That's from the Seventh-day Adventist?
Oh,
or is that in the Bible?
Isn't that like a common thread somewhere?
That's a Mormon belief. That is a Mormon thing. Kind of, like I said, that's why for me, with my background in theology, this is second nature. And since I speak out against the Jehovah Witnesses so empathetically because of the Australian Royal Commission into these child abuse cover-up that they did from 2015, it's such a huge issue. Well, like I said, the two-witness rule about pedophilia there is atrocious and needs to be putting a stop to. So I'm very grateful that Lloyd Bridges is a friend of mine and discusses his past with surviving being abused. And yeah, it's really, I'm grateful. My friends have gotten me through thick and thin, and loyalty means everything to me. And that's why I'm kind of grateful I can say what I say and people don't take me too seriously 90% of the time, because after they get to know me a little bit, they know I don't take this stuff too seriously. I like talking about the Admiral Byrd, Antarctic mythos. You know, I like getting into these weird conversations, you know, with people who are having a hard time understanding the difference between theories and reality.
Well, what is reality to you? So it's 3D.
Mhm.
It's, I guess I don't have a clearer sense on your idea of what reality is besides being 3D.
Well, do you know what the multiverse theory is?
Yes.
I'm kind of a big fan of that right now. I think there's a world 1 second in front of us. I think there's a world 1 second behind us. Unfortunately, our soul incarnations at this present moment keep us locked into this human experience. And so we have to live by the 5 senses, by the cognitive dissonance that we have built up within our own minds.
So you don't
And
think it's a frequency fence that's keeping us here?
no,
Okay.
I don't think there's a soul grid on the Mars or the moon. Very good. I'm so appreciative of that. Yeah, no, I can't do that stuff. If you have questions about what you do after death, everybody has those same questions. My advice to you about whether going to the light is good or bad, I couldn't tell you because I don't remember anything but this existence, I guess is the best way to put it, because that's where I run into people that are so brainwashed into believing in reincarnation. But I don't disagree with them that reincarnation is a real thing, you know. But is there a, bunch of stupid archons controlling a secret base on the dark side of the moon where they catch our spirits and they judge us? And if we don't know the right words to say or commands, I don't. That's the stuff where I have a million questions, not answers.
Yeah. Well, I
But
think we
that's
all do.
why, yeah, and that's why I'm like going, okay, but the real world we live in today, we have 5 senses, we have virtues, we have morality, we have ethics, and then we have the 7 deadly sins as well, where vanity goes before pride. And,
This
and,
is
and
all this is all ascribed to a system of belief.
right.
So I mean, someone that's not in that system of belief doesn't adhere to those things. So what do you think the state of dreaming is? So we've got an idea of how you're viewing reality. What are dreams?
I was going to say, on top of your disbelief or disdain for the astral plane, or however you put it before.
Yeah, because that's when you go to sleep. Oh God, this is okay. Dreamcatcher. What was that movie?
Dreamcatcher. Stephen King.
Yes, with the lizard people, the train.
Yep.
That is something that's where I'm kind of at right there. Yeah, people dream. I know this. People go into rapid eye movement and have dreams. What their subconscious mind, does it connect through the ascotic records, I do believe is the key word to use at this present moment.
Akashic.
Yeah, I'm a Southerner, sorry.
It's all good. It's all good.
But yeah, that's where I'm at, like I said, and that's one of my things is if you're in a situation where you're under a lot of stress, your dreams are going to be more nightmarish.
Yes, of course.
And that's kind of like this. That's why I'm always a firm believer in what you're asking me these questions about. Is it black and white or is it color? Do you have rapid leg movement? I mean, like I said, I get really deep with this stuff because I want to understand other people and why and what they dream and why they think. Sometimes, like I said, it's when a person says that their dream has told them to do this radical thing that is not logical, that I have an issue. And that's when like I said, these people that channel.
Mm-hmm.
I says, speaking in tongues and channeling, I am just like, that is one step removed from, putting pentagrams on the ground and, invoking Beetlejuice, to be kind of funny about AWAS and Lamb, but like I said, that's exactly what I was looking into at one point in my life, was this Thelemite occulted knowledge about, evil. And like I said, that's the stuff I'm really careful about talking about, because I think you can incarnate things. I think you can bring things in to this plane of existence that don't belong here. And I'm not talking about Yetis or abominable snowmans or the Loch Ness Monster or even, the
You're talking
Archangel
about
Michael.
entities or demons or whatever.
Yeah. And it's when, like I said, that's the only problem I've had in the last few years is when people start naming them.
Yeah, I know. I hear you. I'm so with that. I don't like throwing names around myself. It was tricky, and again, it gets back to that point of context to a person and then their relationship with the language.
Yeah, I'm watching Rosca and Jessica talking about the loop and bridges and stuff. Jumping back to Richard Bach's book, The Bridge Across Forever. On the cover is the infinity symbol. Figure 8 with a twist in it. So there's never a beginning on the end, no matter where you start anywhere. There's and it's
Yeah, I'm a lover of that symbol.
yeah, and like I said, that's one of the yeah, exactly. And like I said, and that's kind of one of the things about life that, when you start learning about the cycles of life, the aeons and all that stuff, that I really, I think we do. I said this to my mom before she died because I was dealing with a lot of issues with my family. But, if we don't break the dysfunctional family ideology that's existing to these days, our, our world's screwed, they started impacting the world and breaking down the family unit, when everyone started moving into the cities and getting away from farming and stuff. And now that we have kind of seen the error of our ways, everyone's jumping on the sustainable living bandwagon, which I love. I'm a huge sustainable aquaponics. That Joe from the Carolinas is an amazing guy as well.
Yeah, I live all that. I just don't use the word sustainable. I think it's so true. So
yeah, exactly. I'm the same way. But Doc says you can't discuss this stuff unless you use the right terms. And that's where I was like going, we have computers that help us translate these days. We have the World Wide Web where you can,
yeah, but there's still slang and all the sub language that goes on.
Yeah, but like I said, we don't even use the same amount of measurements as most of the world in America.
Right.
So there's a huge breakdown in language and communication these days. And that's what I was picking up when everyone started talking about, this conspiracy about the Brexit and all that crap, And it was just like, I'm like, you guys, I don't understand this stuff this well, but I think this is good. That Euro was kind of them kind of doing this oligarchy, corporatarchy kind of crap that I don't agree with. And like I said, I don't understand. I prefer to make jokes about politics than to try to debate geopolitics because I just like I said, I don't take it seriously. I think we need to get back to state government and deregulate the feds a little bit, but I know we need to have a Fed too, so I'm always playing the devil's advocate.
We don't. But that's a whole other story.
Yeah,
and
I know.
I want to shout out to Laurie Anderson in the 1980s.
Oh, Superman.
Remarkable album, Language is a Virus. Yes.
God, I remember Laurie Anderson.
She's still making great music. So can you give us one dream that may have changed the way let me go here. Have you had any intense dream? I know that you have this you were kind of putting down astral travel and all that, but have you had any life moving dreams that felt lucid or real where you were not in your body, Lee, where you were separate from your body?
No, I never have. And that's what's funny because I have tried. I've always wanted to wake up and be able to look at my body. I've always wanted to be able to project my existence to another place. So there was, like I said, I'm always kind of, spending a lot of time in boarding schools when you can't, in other places like jail and stuff, you get a lot of time to focus your attention on certain things. And yeah, I definitely tried. I definitely wanted to.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to go over to the Louvre and check out, Da Vinci's work and other stuff. And Like I says, and like I said, the world is so amazing, and people live in their little bubbles.
Okay, that's too bad. That is too bad. I wonder why, because the dreams I've had that were I'm out of my body and I'm able to look at it are intense and real. And so because I've had that experience, I know what it's like. And it's validated. Before that, I wouldn't have been able to subscribe because I wouldn't have access to the experience. Therefore,
let me bring up one thing, because you're making me think of something I never really thought about before. Because whenever I'm in my dreams, I am watching myself in the dream. And I've never really thought about that. Like, if I'm in the dream, who am I watching? If that's me, who I'm watching.
Have you had anything that was like paralysis, where you were screaming or trying to talk and you couldn't, or you couldn't move your limbs?
That is one of my things. That rapid leg movement syndrome, my aunt had that. So I looked into that a little bit, but this wasn't that at all. That you've slept for about an hour and you jump out of it. I have always believed that is when I'm going into my dream state and I'm going into a nightmare and I wake up before it gets too bad. But I guess that's one of my things. Is when I was a kid, my dreams were so kind of bad because I was always being chased in the woods by Indians, or just a lot of things were going on in my life back when I was a young kid. But I kind of think I've suppressed a lot of that stuff when I got older, because I was scared, of having nightmares. And then, you see that Dreamcatcher Chaser movie. I mean, it got me kind of paranoid about, can you cut the silver cord?
Mm-hmm.
And that was always kind of the thing when it comes to the astral projecting that has held me back, because I have a huge fear of death.
Yeah.
You can't cut that cord, by the way.
You can't even barely. I mean, some people. We have talked to people that have seen it and it's visible, but a lot of people don't even notice it.
Right. It's virtual.
Yeah, I never noticed it.
It's my own paranoia that I just won't. Like I said, that's.
But that's what's holding you back. That's what's keeping you from doing this. I have the exact same problem.
What is your fear of death? I think that's the core of that.
I haven't accomplished my dreams yet.
So is that tied into control?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Because there's a lot of so many. I believe we're all here for more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that because I didn't have the support from a family unit that most people have, because of the dysfunction that was in my family way before I even showed up on the scene, that, like I said, I think I kind of, going through my mother being so critical and her bipolar vanity stuff, my dad being neglectful, not because he wasn't a good father, just because he worked all the time, because that's what he believed was the right thing to do. And I think that really impacted me to the point where I, think that I should have done a lot more with my life at this point. I have political dreams, I guess, a little bit, but I would never sell out to do that kind of stuff. So I kind of really try to focus on activism to allow other people who are stifled and can't express themselves. Because today there are so many creators that are out there helping others, come to a new understanding, that I do believe we are on the verge of a disclosure. But that's the words that trigger me.
Disclosure of what?
Well, not aliens, that's for damn sure.
Yeah, I know. That's the disclosure. We don't know anything. There's no aliens.
So that's my main thing. It's like I just wanted proof and truth, and I couldn't find it anywhere. So I had to look the one place that I didn't want to look, and that was kind of inside myself, and come to terms with I'm a limited creature that, only has 5 senses, but only has a mind with, a left hemisphere and a right hemisphere and a cerebellum and a pineal gland and serotonin and dopamine. It works like a computer. It does. I don't understand memory recall. Most people don't. You know, most psychiatrists and psychologists, when you start really asking them the harder questions, they're going to start talking about their issues instead of answering your questions. That's what I've come to find out sometimes recently, especially when I wanted to understand about multiple personality disorder and dissociative identity disorder along the lines of the Kathy O'Brien stuff.
Let's talk about have you been dreaming lately? Let's say in this last year.
Yeah, like I said, I know I dream.
But are you having dream recall? Are you remembering dreams in this last year?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I remember them, but then I don't remember them. You know what I mean? I know what I kind of dreamt about.
Yeah, I do.
Remember the location, but then I don't remember what really happened. And it kind of goes. Like I said, 15 minutes later, I'm wanting my coffee and a cigarette and, you know, wanting to make sure
that's natural and it's super common, but I just wanted to get at that. So you are dreaming this year, and then are you sensing a theme in your dreams? Are you having anxiety dreams? Are you having night terrors? Are you having wet dreams? Are you having good dreams? Is there any theme going on?
I'm getting too old for the wet dream part.
I love the wet dreams. They are so great.
I need to focus on, like, so my ex-girlfriend's still an issue for me. So, but anyways, for some reason, this is going to sound kind of strange, but I've always had dreams of like Middle East, like, you know, and okay, Men in Black, not Men in Black.
Like ancient Middle East or modern?
Well, no, like
We're
Dubai, like Dubai, the new city, jumping off a building.
Oh, modern. Okay.
Yeah, just like there's being in that kind of environment. And like I said, it's just always kind of like there's this whole crazy world out here, but yet these people live like kings, and they do it off of the sweat and labor of their servants and stuff. And so like this, and that's when I said is that's when I had to do what I hate using this term, but you step out of yourself and you look at the world from that other place, you know, where there is no emotion anymore. It's just what it is. It can make you angry, hate, you know, and that's when, you know, what's the Star Wars, you know, fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate leads to the dark side. Well, at least there's Girl Scout cookies on the dark side, you know. It's a joke, but I think you guys, when things are so heated these days, when you're talking about this stuff, you need to be very clear that, you know, the going into that cave, facing that fear, and then understanding why you have that fear. It doesn't make you a weaker person. It makes you a stronger person. You know, don't be afraid to express that, all right, I believe, you know, this, or I believe that, no matter what, you know. But that's one of the things I also am very clear about is make sure you do your due diligence a little bit, you know, so that you can explain. Because like I said, that's the simplest thing to me. If I get asked something and if I can't explain it to someone in 10 minutes, I don't understand it myself. And so many people are using these neurolinguistic programming, Hegelian dialectic, behavior modification tactics these days, that you have to step up your game these days. You have to be well eloquent in your speech. You have to understand that there is pseudoscience and people with mental health issues that might think that they come from, you know, the bureau or whatever. And you have to be willing to help them because, like I said, I just wanted to understand at one point. That's all I really wanted. But when people kept telling me things and I'm sitting there going, all right, explain, and they kept going into things that were religion, I tried to explain to them about the prison of belief, that we all have a prison of belief. You can say you're not brainwashed or programmed, but actually, I think everyone should be a little bit to have morals and ethics and values, to have a code of conduct.
But is that programming? Is that those aren't belief systems? Those are more tenets of, you know, character.
Yeah.
You don't believe that you're a moral person. You're a moral person. You don't believe that you aren't a murderer. You won't murder people. You know, it's a
Most
gnosis
people have
versus
character defects.
true, but I would say more like believing in aliens, believing in space, that space is infinite. That's a belief, regardless of what you say or what anyone thinks. It's a belief system, and it contains your mind in a way, just like you were saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, that's I agree 1,000 times over. It's when those other few weirdos come along and say, "Space is a hologram." NASA's lying. It's firmament. It's black goo. It's plasma.
It's super
I'm
cool
like,
liquid helium.
yeah,
Well,
and they start really explaining it to me. Oh, yeah, and that's like I said, and that's what I'm sitting there going. I am so willing to discuss things with people if they stay rational and logical without raising their tone of voice to me and are willing to talk. It was when these people started, I'm sorry, I'm going to jump into this freaking since it's already past 9 now. Blockchain, Bitcoin is as freaking close to a cult as I've ever found recently for some reason. I don't disagree that Bitcoin is a good thing, maybe. I don't understand it. I'm too stupid. But those blockhead blockchain people, oh my God. I love them. Like I said, I will talk to them because I think they're educating me. But as soon as I start bringing up the stock commodities and a stock portfolio and silver versus gold versus platinum, Bitcoin's going to change it. You don't need any of that stuff. And I'm like,
oh,
okay,
were you
cool.
talking to Thomas?
Thomas is the person I've talked with, and I actually will tell you, I have learned a lot from him. That guy knows his blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
He does.
He does.
Yeah, that's why I never disrespect him. He knows his shit.
Mm-hmm.
If someone comes along and can explain what he can, I think he, like I said, that's where I'm like going, okay, dude, I totally agree with you, but you got to remember, there's other people who are just joining the chat that don't understand how you emphasize so much and jump on this, yeah.
But this is a good example of the changing world. The blockchain tech and then moving more into open source stuff is a sea change. And
okay.
So people that are still functioning in the one server, one owner world, and it's like a death in a way. And so
what do you mean one server?
Stuff being stored on one server instead of
the cloud,
instead of vertically scaling,
instead of scaling,
or vertically scaling instead of horizontal scaling.
Thank you. And but where it's not owned by any one person.
Yeah, I know. Like there's unfortunately a thing that I've been trolling very hard called crowdsource the truth. Do you guys even know anything about that?
I know all about them.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, which one are we going to take out first?
What was his hashtag?
Neither right now. See us the truth.
Yes, I'm Team DeFango. If anyone wants to know,
you're what?
My boy Manny. I'm Team DeFango. Manny's my boy.
Okay, we can talk about the after show.
Okay. So I have a question. Do you, Lee? Do you get any? So before big things happen, like we'll just use this as an example, like 9/11. Did you have premonitions, or were your dreams being affected? Was there an eerie feeling in the air? Were you at all tuned in that something was going to change?
See, that's
and I'm using that, and I'm just using 9/11 as the example.
That's a perfect example. That's great. That's a great example. I love it to death because screw that. Let's just go ahead and jump into the OKC bombing crap. I am from Oklahoma. My life has been so close between my father from San Antonio, my mom from Waco, the Branch Davidian, the Bluff, that red, and then all that stuff. I don't believe in premonition, but I know that other people do have it. And that's when like Cody Snodgrass comes out speaking out against that, secret black ops stuff that is involved in that stuff. I'm just very careful because I don't want anyone to start throwing me under the bus and throwing in me with these other wacky-do conspiracy theory mother jumpers because, I don't agree with Mark Dice. I don't agree with freaking Alex Jones. I don't agree with and I literally can just start listing 100 names, being able to drop William Ramsey's name, because he is the West Memphis 3 expert, is something I'm proud of. But me and him don't agree on all this stuff. We don't.
But do you ever get the vibe before something happens, or do you
That's
sense
that's
it?
that's why I'm sitting here going, because I wasn't at that building. Nothing's bad has ever happened to me. And when like I said, it's in Spidey sense.
Yes.
I don't know. I kind of think, yeah, because I've always never gotten in a wreck. I've always been able to keep myself a hair away from situations other people lost their lives in.
Yes.
So like I said, I've always just chalked it up to luck and left it there because I didn't want to sound too, I'm the golden child, I am the alpha omega. I can, no one can touch me. All that wackadoo, and there's so much with this people looking into this RH negative stuff that I am fascinated by, but it also freaks me out a lot.
How does it freak you out?
The mutation chupacabra issue that goes along with it, that they are being, radicalized to be exterminated because they're descendants of the Elohim.
Oh no, I heard that they were the RH negatives will be able to withstand the chemtrails as a bioengineering or bioforming effort.
That's maybe we should all be trying to be more breeding with those types then.
I believe
in natural selection.
I'm one of those types, and I'm the buck stops here.
The RH negatives are just the Nephilim. That's all.
But you cracked me up with the chupacabra, though. It made me laugh. That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is with all this crazy stuff, and then to meet Groovy Bean and her issues with that Sphere being alliance stuff. I mean, that's
that cult.
Stuff. Yes, that is gang stalking, cyberbullying, and the stupid fact that other people that are mutual friends are joking and not helping and not respecting her and her issues. That is just, I'm like going, really? Bueller, like I said, it's that stupid to me. Maybe I've been in this too long. Maybe I've been jumping around these other, things because I learned about this stuff, a while back. But like I said, that's also when I'm like sitting there going, I go to another YouTube channel, I'm like, and these people started taking my jokes out of context. I taught this one person that I have a huge issue with, this Christian whistleblower wackadoo person, like I said, is he gets me so upset because I just know he's kind of a hustler. He's a con artist, But he will jump on there if he finds this video, he'll jump on it and be like, "That's right, he's talking about me." He'll totally try to hijack the conversation and spin it like he's the good guy. And I'm like going, dude, I'm not even going to tell people your name because I want anyone to know who you are. Because it's if you're going to have this fanatical cult following, that believes your story because you believe the Mandela effect is nothing more than like it says butterfly effect. I'll do that. I can understand that. It's when you start adding in the Mandela and then saying that there's portals at the South Pole going to Jupiter, because I can't do that stuff. And it was a difficult year for me this last year because so many people were like going, "Really? You believe that?" And I'm like, dude, I'm totally joking, but other people do really believe this stuff. People
how
really.
How much do you are you affected by the opinions of other people?
Oh, very much.
Yeah, I'm feeling that.
Yeah, because with my family turning their back on me when I reached out to them about the amount of abuse within the troubled teen industry and the amount of pedophilia stuff that I think gets covered up there, I've got this huge chip on my shoulder now that I know I'm unfortunately coming across a lot angrier than I wish I did a lot of times because I'm not, I know how blessed I am with the life I've been given. I do. I really do. But that's why I don't take a second for granted anymore.
Do you experience deja vu?
I have definitely had moments of.
So you're smiling there, so I want to know more. There's something going on.
Well, like I said, that's when I have the. Did I dream this? I've definitely been here. I've definitely done this before. So I've definitely had a lot of moments of very vivid deja vu, but not when I'm asleep. It's definitely when I'm awake. It's definitely in the waking moment, and that's when that whole, butterfly effect, shifting in time stuff. I'm like going, maybe there's a little bit of truth there.
When you have the deja vu.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. That's where I definitely like to jump into that stuff and just be very clear about, time is only the present. We only have the here and the now. But outside of that, there's so much more that we don't understand. And you get into these things with people who love Einstein and E equals MC squared that don't understand that you can't square the speed of light. Supposedly. I don't know. Like, so that's the thing is I get into these discussions with these nuclear physicists about this stuff because I love trying to educate myself, trying to make myself a better human being.
But isn't the speed of light just a belief system that they adhere to?
I mean, the speed of light is a constant.
Allegedly.
Well, I mean, you have your different rays that travel at different variations. So, yeah, but the speed of light itself is light speed. And can you increase that or decrease that? Once again, like I said, they say you can't. So, like I said, so if you can't increase it, then how do you square? You're just going, like I said, and that's where I'm like going.
It's like infinity to the second power, right?
Right. And that's where you're going into space and time. And like I said, and I love the space-time continuum. I love Star Trek. I love the Prime Directive. That maybe there are entities out there that won't interfere with us until we get a warp drive. But I would rather believe that than, maybe that there's going to be a golden cube descending down over Jerusalem with the Buddha Maitreya on it one day. And I went there because I love that Buddha Maitreya New Age stuff. It's hilarious how many people love that stuff. But that's why when they started talking about the Merkaba frequency, I was like, what are you talking about? What is this Kundalini rising, Merkaba, ocean? And like I said, and it was just so far out in left field that I wanted to understand it better. And do I understand it any better now than I did a year ago? Oh, God, no. Now I'm way more confused about all that stuff than before, but I'm grateful I looked into it at least. So I can understand that, there are people out there that totally believe, and they are believers. And I have to respect that belief. Like I said, whatever it is, whether it's, that there are deep underground military bases and we have secret alignment agreements with the military because what Lauren Eisenhower says, and I can't stand that Project Camelot and Project Avalon stuff. I still love Groovy, but yeah, that's the stuff those people, I'm like going, no, that Thrive documentary. That's great. But, there's a couple of issues there that I have with that stuff now. Like I said, and instead of trying to diss and insult those people, I wanted to talk to them. I mean, like I said, people have no idea how grateful I am to be talking with you two tonight and just having this discussion because I've been trying to get this stuff out for years, and explain to people that, if you really want to understand my life, there's a guy named James Tipper who wrote a book called The Discarded Ones. That's as close as you're going to get to my life story as you can get because he wrote it about his, and it mimics my life. It's very similar. We went to the same situation, boarding school in California, and boarding schools prior to that. He went to 2 other boarding schools before that. So it's a very similar story. But to explain to people that you feel like you are a discarded one, you almost feel like you can't do anything to fix your life because of something that happened back in 1989, and that I'm still stuck in high school, still stuck with these tools that I learned at this boarding school, which, if you look into Warner Earhart, Warner Earhart seminar training, training, landmark forms, landmark education, that's the same stuff that developed out of Synanon and the school I went to. So that's large group awareness training and behavior modification 101. So I know when I'm speaking certain ways, and I learned this with my sisters a few years ago, that they have a hard time if I talk above a normal tone of voice. And to know that I can trigger people by going at them hard if they say something I don't agree with, you know, like I said, that's what I was doing with these people who were trying to come tell me I lived underneath the freaking dome. And like I said, I was like, okay, well, explain this to me. How do you not explain the tropical cancer and Capricorn and eclipses? And they had, you know, they were stumped in 2 seconds. Was I helping them? You know, I don't know, probably not, you know. And to answer Moose, Moose is asking, has my cult religious experiences?
No. I read the questions.
Okay, sorry.
I have one more thing before we get into that, because this has been a long Nox Mente. And you did kind of address it a bit earlier, but I want it to be its own thing. So on death, that's where I like to end. What do you think that state is? And yes, I know you did address this a bit, but
no, I love the River Styx and talking about death. Death is a good subject for me.
Bring it on.
It is suicide that I have an issue with. Best friend killed herself 5 years ago.
I'm sorry to hear
that. Sister killed herself a year later.
Oh, man.
And that's the tip of the 50 friends that have suicided in my life.
Oh, my God, Lee.
It happens when you go to a boarding school with a pedophile at it.
Jeez. So that right there explains a lot.
Thank you. Death is another adventure. It is the unknown. It is something not to be afraid of, but it is something to understand that you live. You know, people don't revere this existence enough to me. People don't worship their temples, which is their bodies. You know, people don't respect the other entities out there. And so when death occurs, you know, we have to accept it because it is the inevitable. But that's what I'm sitting on. I'm not afraid to die. You know, when I'm willing to come on this channel to speak out for a friend of mine, knowing I might get cyberstalked too, cool, bring it. I don't, you know, that's one of the things is I'm not going to be afraid to speak my truth, no matter the outcome anymore. You know, I have bitten my tongue trying to be sensitive to these snowflakes, and it has cost me what I like to call as integrity. And
but if you don't do that, you end up getting psychically attacked.
That's okay.
That's stressful though.
I've been through a lot of stress in my life. It's a burden I will bear. You know, when you can drop names like Max Spears. Yeah.
I knew Max Spears. He was on Miles' show all the time.
I can't stand that. Miles Johnson, for the record, is a con artist of the Ike variety. And I'll leave it there because I know people fanatically love his interviews and discussions and the Basis Project. So it is what it is. I just, like I said, I tried to listen to that dude, and like I said, he focuses on that satanic ritual abuse stuff. And like I said, I told this to people years ago. There is such a fine line between ritual abuse, institutional abuse, and satanic abuse that I don't know where my understanding of theology and my understanding of the left-hand path end and begin even anymore.
Right. And, you know, honestly, the whole satanic label could just be a cover.
Yeah.
So they have an out. Oh, well, we're doing it for Satan.
Well, they got LaVey, Aquinas.
Yeah, there's so many flavors of Satanism.
No, like I said, that's what I'm saying is I can't, I split them apart. If people don't know the difference between the Temple of Set and the Church of Beauvais, then they're idiots and they haven't done their research. And I have huge issues with both sides. Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino and the Presidio stuff is disgusting if that is true. For him to be the psychological warfare guy writing books about this stuff,
right, for the
and how to
army.
do blood rituals and spirit cooking, bullshit, not in my world. If I can do anything and say anything and get that stuff to stop, then I'm going to say it.
Well, I admire this aspect of your personality, but with the death stuff, and with what you have spoken of throughout this bit of the conversation, control is a big deal, and it seems like death in the process of dying, no matter how it happens, is kind of a big lesson in losing control or letting go.
Oh yeah, I definitely believe that. I think we don't get free until we let go. I think people need to lose their shit. You know, there used to be this term called running amok. And I understand that. You know how many times I have wanted to go and beat the living shit out of someone who thinks they can talk smack to me, but we live in a sensitive society and I don't want to go to jail, even though I know I could probably go there and push a button and they'd hit me first. But still, you know, we live in a very diplomatic world today, and people aren't using their voices in a harmonious way anymore. And that's, you know, like I said, it takes 5 seconds for these young kids who are, or old people. Like I said, that's what I'm sitting on. When it got to be the older generations that would snap and lose it on me, just because I would question their belief system. You know, no other reason than I don't understand my own belief system. So can you help me explain yours and what you believe? And oh, you're a Kabbalist. Oh, you're in the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Oh, you're in the OTO. Oh, you're a Master Mason. Oh, you're this, you're this, you're this. Yeah, okay, cool. Explain, please. I want to know. And you know what? Some of them did. Some of them explained it to a T, gave me their understanding. I respected that, and I kept moving on.
Excellent.
Yeah, and it's given me a group of friends that I am so proud of, you know, because they're not going to jump to preconceived notions, you know, without, you know, understanding what I've gone through, why I say the things I do, what I do, what I do. A lot of them are understanding it now, you know, but to try to express that, you know, I went through a blessed existence and I didn't get molested. I am not a victim to that degree, but the stuff I went is separated from that by a hair. I was, you know, at 13 years old, when you're 5'10" and the 200 and some odd pounds, you know, you don't get singled out for that kind of stuff, you know. And so these young kids that were blue hair, you know, blonde and stuff, those were singled out and targeted, and other kids were, and to have them, you know, their diaries and what happened to them after the fact and all these other things that happened to me, I was very much aware of what death is and what death, you know, the whole purgatory issue. You know, if you suicide, where do you go? I had to definitely look into that very deeply because, yeah, I can't lie and say when I was messed up in Dallas, you know, drunk, bartending all the time, you know, basically couch surfing and, you know, kind of not really having a home of my own or anything, you know, getting apartments here and there. There were times when I'd go up in a building and, you know, look down from up on top of there and go, you know, it's going back to jail or jumping. No, because I did run from the cops for 2 years. So yeah, that was questions I've definitely had and taken a look at. And I don't want to go to hell. You know, I don't believe at this point in my existence I've sinned. And that kind of gives me the leniency to not judge other people, but to say I have morals and values. And if you show me that you're a hypocrite and a backstabbing and you don't have loyalty and integrity, I don't want to be your friend anymore. And that's the truth for me. You know, I have a lot of people this last year that I tried to reach out because of my issues with my past. And now I run into them and they're such elitist know-it-alls that I'm just like going, you know, I don't want to hear you try to convince me of what you're explaining anymore because I've heard it 100 times now.
Yeah. it's really, that's always such a put off. It's, yeah. That's all I'll say on that.
And that's what I'm saying. When I had so many
energy.
people that I admired so much, you know, I idolized these people, and I'm not gonna lie and say I didn't. And then to come and find out the Stuart Swerdlow issue with that underage girl that he got caught riding in the truck with, and the Hampstead hoaxers with that stuff, because I do satanic ritual abuse investigation.
Oh, those two kids, and
yeah,
I remember that.
And to come to find out that, like I said, and I don't even want to get into that because I literally almost got thrown on the Hampstead hoaxers list at one point. But yeah, if the mother's lying with the stepfather, or if the dad is, or, you know, like I said, that became such a speculation, he said, she said stuff that I hope those kids are fine. But what I hear is they're separated and in different possessions. And like I said, and that's, you know, it's that stuff that I want to stop in life. You know, like I said, when you see about the, what was it? Oh, Omaha, Boys Town, the Franklin conspiracy. And then you find out about the McMartin stuff in California as well. On top of that, that's when you learn about the satanic panic. And I don't think we're any different today from that time right now. I really don't. You know, I think there are a lot of very satanic cults in Mexico that are doing blood rituals.
I know someone who was at one.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
exactly.
Yes.
And that's the stuff I'm sitting going, really? This stuff is really going on? And I'm like, yeah, people are going there. It's a tourist thing now. And I'm like, oh my God.
It's the new ayahuasca.
Yeah, but that's the thing is I spent time in Baton Rouge and New Orleans. And so I was making fun with the voodoo priests about hoodoo and voodoo.
Oh, dude, that shit is real.
I'm not denying that. But
it's definitely real.
Well, what's her name? What was that rapper?
It was killing chickens in her closet.
Yeah, the Buckaroo.
Yeah, I can't remember her name.
Holy shit! I'm sorry, I can't express that in any other way than really people in California and LA are doing. Okay, are these casting couch rituals true? Are these pool parties that Bryan Singer and Paul Bonacci and all that crazy stuff, is that true? And then Corey Feldman comes out, and I believe Corey Feldman 100%. I don't care what anyone says about his reality show and his girly band. I don't give a crap. He was a victim of a person that worked for his father. It's in his book. He came out, like I said, and that's why I'm sitting going, Elijah Wood, the Weinstein stuff, the Podesta brothers, And like I said, that's why I'm sitting going, I've heard way too much crap when it comes to, I hate using the word, pedogate. We'll use that one instead of the other one because the other one's
that's perfectly acceptable one.
And I think that's true. I think that Charlie Sheen is guilty as all get out. He can take his tiger blood and shove it.
Yeah, I definitely think the Hollywood stuff is true. I'm not so sure about the political stuff.
Yeah, and also what's true is we know that human trafficking's been going on a very long time, and it's infiltrated a lot of areas. And of course, when we're talking these kinds of things, we're talking people with money or high clearance to stuff to support it. You know, I mean, I could go on I could speak a lot to this.
I know. That's the reason I speak, and that's the reason I speak so clearly. I have a friend in the DOD. I'm from Oklahoma. Have you ever heard of a person by the name of Frank Keating?
Not familiar to me. No.
Keating Savings and Loan?
No, Frank Keating, the guy that almost became head of the FBI recently.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. I guess I was hearing you wrong.
Friend of the family.
But only just recently through...
Oh, no, he was involved with it back in the Oklahoma City stuff when he was governor, too. So, like, his security, I don't understand any of that stuff. I don't ask questions I'm not supposed to ask. But when your family members are connected to the Inhoffs with, do you know about Jim Inhofe throwing the snowball at Obama and all that?
Yep.
Those are just people I've known my whole life. So it is what it is to me. But that's also given me the courage to be like, okay, you know what? They can't really do shit to me. What are they going to do to me at this point? I'm just being honest, and that's it.
Well, honesty is a dangerous thing.
Unless you're Yeah, we can talk about this later. Let's finish the show.
This is so post-horse. So let's
going
questions from the chat.
I got one question here from Raksha. It was Lee, has your cult or religious beliefs been a boon or bane to your dreamscapes?
Yes.
Both.
Yeah, very much both. Like I said, it's to me when you understand C.W. Ledbetter, Madame Blavatsky, Rorik, the Master Builder, and that stuff. And I mean, you understand it. You understand what the Ascended Masters are. And if you want your prophet to be Siddhartha, if you want your prophet to be Jesus, if you want your prophet to be the reincarnation of all of the above, that's cool by me. I very much stick with me. I don't need a prophet anymore. I don't. I'm sorry. Tribes of Abraham, Mohammedans, I have my own faith. Now, saying I'm baptized Episcopal just means I'm baptized Episcopal. And I believe that that is a good morality lesson. But understanding allegorical stories, teaching morality lessons is all religion. It is. And that's, all religions have a triune system of some sort, of birth, death, rebirth, and stuff. So, I love discussing that Saturnalia stuff because people get into that these days. People love that these days.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the stuff where I'm sitting there going, okay, I can't go that far down this rabbit hole, there's a certain point when you start learning what that dark side is, that while you don't mind peeking at it a little bit every once in a while, you stay as far away from it as you can because people believe in Enki, Enlil, the Book of Enoch, etc. And I don't understand it. I said, I don't. I try to. Being raised the way I was, I'm very interested in theology. But that's the stuff I'm sitting there going, okay, there's a certain point that I don't want to cross because of my fear. Because I've learned that you don't speak out against. Like I said, I don't even know at this point because, like I said, I'm speaking out against spirit cooking. But like I said, that's the stuff when you're looking at these pictures that these people are showing around about this stuff. People do this stuff, like I said, when I heard that there were black masses where people are putting menstrual blood into the wafers, I was like, oh crap, has anyone ever slipped me one of those? And I didn't know about it.
But menstrual blood in the wafers is an old school thing. It's not just, it's also in the OT, different sects like Temple of Kali with the cakes of light. And it goes back a very long time in some cultures.
Yeah, it's blood ritual.
It is blood ritual. And it wasn't a dark art of any kind.
I know, that's where I'm agreeing with you. I can agree 1,000 times over about that.
But for them to use it in this manner seems like a corruption.
Right. Yeah, it's distorted for sure.
Yeah, when they start going from that realm into the channeling sigil realm, that I'm going to have a problem. Because I'm just like going, okay, do you guys know about the Quakers and the Shakers? Do you know about the Sunni and Shiites, the Assassins, the Templars, the Poor Knights of Christ? Do you guys know about the Dan Brown Hope?
What about the Houthis and Hutus and is it Tooties and Houthis and I can't remember now.
When I heard about the Raelians, oh my god. I'm like, there's a white supremacist alien cult in South Korea and Switzerland. What are you talking about? And they show, and I'm like, oh my god, that's in Star of David with a swastika in it. You kidding me? And it exists. It's on Wikipedia. Like I said, that's what I'm talking about. That's one of the things I like about what I've done and why I've looked into this stuff and tried to pierce that veil, as they say. Go into the sanctum sanctorum. Vitriol, I think, is a really great word to use at this present moment.
Yeah. Oh, it's alchemical.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, and that's when I like to separate empathy from apathy. I can be very apathetic if the times require that. I don't want to be apathetic anymore. I want to show more empathy, but I am jaded. I have these issues that I want to get out because I know children are not getting the education they deserve, are not being raised in family units like they should be. I know that
That's it, and that right there is a very sad thing. And the separation of the family unit's an important thing, and it is distorted as it's gotten. Man, it's just your initial tribe, and to be stripped from it. I mean, I came up in that whole latchkey generation, which had like they were like commercials about latchkey kids and stuff. But I was one of them.
That's been my biggest influence. The more people I start talking about this, and the more people who start opening up to me about their own past, the more we just relate. And it's just an amazing thing for me.
And this is the beauty of communication too. But we do need to have units around. I mean,
I got more questions by the guys
to raise the kids and not the institution. But let's get to the questions, because this is the longest Nox Mente show ever.
It is. Damn you. Okay.
I knew we were.
The lovely and beautiful Chris Monet. What does Lee think the lifting of the veil is?
I think that's, I'm going to sound a little strange, but dawning of the age of Aquarius was so 1984. We are now dawning a new age, and it's better than that even. To have, hopefully, the world, because it's Chris, I'll use the 100 monkey rule, have that happen, literally, where we separate the boundaries, and we take those boundaries away that separate the immigration issue, the illegal alien issue, the I am a American or I am a whatever. I don't like that stuff. I don't like it. And here's my biggest thing, okay? I don't like adjectives, especially when it comes to America. I can't stand Caucasians, little joke there. But because I try to take this cracker, low saltine, white bread route sometimes, because I think it's hilariously funny how sensitive people are about this stuff. And then I learned, a friend of mine 3 years ago taught me about melanin and the beauty products and how it's worth more than gold and platinum. I mean, I'm like going, whoa. And so that's what I think piercing the veil, lifting the veil, whatever you want to call it is. But that's what I'm thinking is we are on this cusp right now. And I think we have a lot of growing pains we're going to have to get through if we're going to address the corruption in the oligarchy that exists in the corporate world. To separate it from government is almost impossible. That's why I'm very clear. I love that word.
Have you been following the QAnon stuff on 4chan or 8chan now? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, but like I said, that's
keep that for next.
Yeah, definitely, because I don't think it's as fun. I don't think it. Like I said, I think it's more. You know who Quinn Michaels is?
Yeah, I know.
Yes,
he says it's
yes.
AI. I know.
It's not. Okay, that dude's whack. That dude is completely whack. Jason Goodman, I am sorry, my friend, but you didn't know shit about the X-Men and Bryan Singer before I told you about it in the first place, so don't pretend like you know anything. Back off at the Fango. Let him make it. Robert David Steele is lying. Frank Bacon, I know your real name. Don't forget that. And we'll move on.
I am actually fascinated by Quinn Michaels.
Oh,
and hashtag Tyler.
No, that's like I said, that's what I'm sort of going. I was a Tyler. I tiled Reggie Bush's condo in New Orleans, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
you're
On that note, yes, it is ancient.
That's that ancient Atlantean
AI, right?
Well, that's the new Atlantis. Where is the new Atlantis?
We are Atlantis.
America. Thank you. Yep.
It's the story.
This is going to be such a great after
The way
show.
I look at it is Atlantis is the story of the world now. but from the past, because time's a loop.
Okay, let me ask you
So-
a simple question then. How do you handle the Mu and Lemurians then?
Alternate timelines, other dimensions.
Same story, new package?
Yeah, I think they were past civilizations of humans. I think they
No,
were.
I'm sitting there going, we don't understand the tectonic plates and stuff and the ice caps and all that stuff and the great deluges.
Right.
Make sure I always had a more than one flood myth off, because it's that stuff that I always run into trouble.
Yeah, maybe every 26,000 years the firmament opens up and all the liquid, the water from space comes in and drowns everyone.
Yeah, as Nibiru's flying by.
As Nibiru, and they're waving out the window, the blue avians. Hey, bye.
Yes. Oh, perfect. So
I got a
perfect.
picture to show you. Anyway, on that note, let's get this show ended. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Lee. Do you have anything to promote?
Groovy Bean Dark Brews YouTube channel is one of my favorites. Another one would be the Den of Lore. Thank you, Chris Zuger, for being my friend. And we got more work to do, of course. And then I will definitely want to give a shout out to the survivors of institutionalabuse.org. If anybody is a survivor of Teen Challenge, Scared Straight, the Elon School, the CEDU schools, wilderness therapy places, and were abused, go to this webpage at SIA Institutional Abuse or Survivors of Institutional Abuse.org. And there's a thing for you to do a video to document and talk about your experience. And we try to help as many survivors as we can. Thank you.
That's wonderful.
Very nice.
I wasn't in the chat tonight, so my love to all of you. Sorry. You know how I am. But Lee, thank you for coming on Nox Mente.
Yep,
This
thank you
was
very much.
a treat.
Well, thank you all very much. Like I said, to have all this stuff happen in the last week with everyone else kind of in our little community, I wanted to really clarify and give my support to my friends that need it right now, and kind of hopefully have the ones that were butting heads these last few nights make amends and make everything right again, because I love this community. I think we are an amazing group, and I
agree.
do not have enough subs on this channel yet, by far.
Who, us?
Yes.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we're we're underground.
I love it. I love it. Trust me, I've been in these groups where the chats are so, freaking fast that you can't really do anything to keep up with it. And people are asking the host and the mods to answer questions, and instead of adding clarity, they're just adding confusion.
Yeah, I love this community too. I've got to say that out loud. I say it out loud often, but I'm saying it again. It's a great group of people that's a steady that I see everywhere that I go, that now kind of defines what I'm calling community. And I'm grateful, which feels like a good time to say that as we're heading towards the winter solstice, Yule, so I send
today,
out my
right?
love.
Tomorrow.
So tomorrow.
Right.
Yes. So my love,
right.
And warmth to everyone.
Merry solstice, everyone. Thank you. Next week we may have a show, we may not. I'm going to try and talk my parents into being on. We'll see how that goes.
Did we have anyone scheduled?
No, it's open night. And in 2 weeks we have Jeremy Crow, who is magic dude or an author.
The Jeremy Crow so much. He is an author, yes,
okay.
But he's. You just have to look into him. We'll give him the information.
Yeah.
I'd like to see your parents on next week, Jared. Just saying that.
So would I. We'll see.
We'll see.
I'll see if I can get Thelma drunk. She'll be on in a second. She'll talk.
Oh my God!
I won't even tell her.
Happen.
I won't even tell her. I'll just say, come on this conference call with me. She'll be okay. I'll do it.
Oh,
and huge shout out to Roscoe Moose too. He is an amazing channel too as well. So.
And he's in the chat.
Oh yes.
Thank you, Raksha. He is an amazing
and
person.
Radagast.
Yep.
Oh, and Tamu Najina has a great channel. I do a show on with her on Mondays with Chris Monet as well.
You're gonna have to give me a list. I'll put these in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll throw them all in the. Jerry will.
I will. Yeah.
Jerry will.
Yeah. There's no we there. It's just me.
I know.
All right, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.